guys think about this. I'll open up the phone line. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, now's the time. 702-257-5396. Quickly, what would this happen if this happened in the NHL? Let's just say hypothetically that someone had a Confederate flag at a game, and Marc-Andre Fleury, by the way, he would never do this because I'm just making what a ridiculous situation this is. Marc-Andre Fleury or one of our players said, you know what, I'm going to quit the NHL. I'm going to quit the NHL because, you know what, I don't think we should ban the Confederate flag. Marc-Andre Fleury would never do that. I don't believe an NHL player would ever do that. But that's what this NASCAR driver did. And it's disgusting. It's racist. This man is just a horrible human being. All right, 702-257-5396. Let's try to take a few calls on the subject. Let's go to Richard. Richard, up on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Richard?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about something that in all these discussions of slavery and our country being partially founded on slavery and tearing down the statues of Washington, how come we never talk about a group of hundreds of millions of people that right now today, a number of their practitioners not only condone slavery but are currently practicing it? And then several million people in our own country practice.
Can you just go a little further for our listeners? And can you go into specifics of what you mean by hundreds of millions of people?
Are you talking about those of Arab descent?
No, I'm trying. Please be a little more specific.
I'm not talking about any group from any nationality. I'm talking about the practitioners of Islam, which doesn't really have a problem with slavery and currently practices it.
But what Islamic person in the United States of America is doing that?
Probably a number of people that have emigrated here from Saudi Arabia.
You just said, all right, but you just all right. Well, I'm not going to make that assumption. Usually, if you own a human being in this country, it's a crime. I'm not going to speak for other countries, but you just said hundreds of millions of people. I don't condone anybody that would be doing that, sir. But I don't know of. I've never heard of anybody that has done anything like that in this country. I mean, I guess there are some people that have kidnapped people in this country, but to claim that Islamic people in this country are owning slaves, sir, that's just not factually accurate. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't agree with.
You do not know that, and it probably does happen in.
So you say probably. How does that mean? So how does that mean you know it?
Are you talking about voluntary sex slavery, sir?
I don't know what this guy's talking about.
Are we having a conversation about concubines?
Number one, there's probably a number of extremely wealthy members of the oil cartels and oil nationals.
All right. Well, there's and there's probably a lot of people that would make those assumptions based on no evidence to back it up. But, sir, I appreciate your phone call. I have absolutely no idea what the hell you're talking about. 702-257-5396.
Good call, Richard.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. That was a weird phone call. Let's go to Pete. Pete, you're next on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Pete?
JD, Brian, good morning, guys. Hey, that guy twisted my brain, and I got one. So I was with you, Brian. Hey, listen, Brian, I listen to a lot of radio. I'm a radio guy. You guys may know that or not. You're just the best, man. Congratulations, man. I mean, I think you're great, and I've got friends. I'm good. I'm excellent. I can take over a radio show whenever I want. I don't do it to you, but did you ever make calls when you were younger?
Did I ever make crank calls when I was younger?
I used to do it to Carrick Share and the Real Down Steel, man, when I was like in the 70s.
Pete, I hate to interrupt you, Pete. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your nice words. But if we could stay on topic, if I may, what are your thoughts on? All right, thank you.
This weekend, the Confederate flag.
Yep.
NASCAR is going to waive the restriction of the Confederate flag at Talladega this weekend. About 10 years ago, my cameraman went to Talladega with the motorhome and he had a spot in the fourth turn, and he brought his movie camera, and he was filming around the infield. Holy smoke! Those people.
Can I ask you this, Pete? I agree.
Crazy, my God! I couldn't believe
you're not going to get an argument from me. Let me ask you this, Pete. What do you think of NASCAR drivers and fans that are saying they're not going to watch NASCAR anymore, and you have one specific NASCAR driver, his name is Ray Ciccarelli, that is quitting because of the organization's new stance on the Confederate flag? What would you say to people like that?
They better go find another hobby because there's not many left for them, except for their guns and their white hoods.
I agree with you, my friend. I think they're going to find that hobby, and they're probably going to enter the Ku Klux Klan. I think that's where Cicerelli is going. Hey, sir, I appreciate the kind words, my friend, on the show. Thank you for listening and calling in.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, how you doing today, Cupcake? Listen, I
Cupcake?
Yeah, they called you Cupcake, yeah.
I really think that the Democratic Party should change their name from Democrats, because that was the party of slavery back in the old days. How come they don't consider that?
Okay, well, here's what I will consider, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, sir. I don't care where the Ku Klux Klan and the Confederate flag came from. Here's what I do care about. I care about where it is now, and it should be gone from society. I would hope you would agree with me on that. We're not talking about the Democrats here. We're not talking about the Republicans.
Well, how about the
I'm not.
then?
Hold on. I didn't bring up Donald Trump. I didn't bring up Republicans or Democrats. You know what I'm bringing up, sir? I'm bringing up racist people. They're just racist people regardless of political affiliation. And I would hope you would agree with NASCAR that the Confederate flag not only has no place in NASCAR, but has no place in society. Can we at least agree on that?
I agree with you, but I think they should. You should agree with me on they should get rid of the Democrat name.
What do you mean?
Well, see, that's a slippery slope. By that logic, George Washington should not be on the $1 bill because he owned a lot of slaves himself. And you have to.
You know, the slope's really slippery lately.
No, it is. It's an extremely slippery slope, and that's why there's a fine line between rewriting history and not celebrating something and that's why I like my idea of just saying, hey, this is the United States. The flag that is represented right now does not support slavery, so no one should be able to actually fly that flag. Now, is there going to be situations where you have people that are tailgating who have Confederate flags in their vehicles or in their trucks? Yes, and that'll be hard to police. But as far as actually flying a flag during the national anthem or during any event, it should not be the Confederate flag at any event across the United States.
It is interesting, though, when I bring up the Klan and I bring up the KKK and the horrible people that are involved in the KKK. I hear from Republicans, don't you know where the KKK came from? And my response is always the same. I don't care where it came from, because the people who created the KKK, none of them are even alive right now, the majority of them. What I care about is right now in society. The Klan shouldn't exist. It's a hate group, okay? Shouldn't exist. The Confederate flag should not exist. If you are happy with yourself that you have a Confederate flag on a truck, by the way, I saw one in Utah. When I went to Utah, we saw one last month with my producer. If you're one of those people, you should be labeled a racist. It's very simple. And you have NASCAR fans and a NASCAR driver that's quitting because of that, let's call them for what they are. The number to call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Dave, you're up on the Vegas Take. What's going on? I think we lost Dave. Let's go to Don. Don, you're next.
Are you there?
Let's go. Yeah, what's up, Don?
Hey, Don.
Cool. Hey, good to hear from you guys. Hey, so NASCAR fan for a long time. Confederate flag doesn't have a place. This non-driver, hey, he can make a stance because he's American. He can make a choice. Cool. I got no problem with it. The thing is where I'm looking at it is, I'm listening to you talk about hockey and different things that are now available to African Americans,
right? Because
it's cheaper. Be careful with that, because now you're classifying.
You are.
Well, I will absolutely classify, and I have no problem with that, sir. I've been playing golf since I was 6 years old, and I'm not going to apologize for that. Let me tell you this. Growing up in some of the snobby country clubs, I hated it. I hated that part of golf. There are more public golf courses now. I hate the snottiness of hockey, golf, any of these country club sports, tennis. The bottom line is this, and this is a fact, and I speak facts on this show whether it offends people or not. The majority, not all, but a lot of minorities, the reasons why you don't see them on the PGA Tour, you don't see them playing professional tennis, and you don't see them playing in the NHL is not because they're not great athletes or not as good of athletes. The reason is financially. That's exactly why. Exactly.
I agree. Sorry to interrupt you. I agree. The thing is the opportunities and being white, being male, we talk about racism. It's like, hey, I've had so many posts lately where people, my friends on there, they start off with talking about, this is to all my white friends. You know what? That's a problem, because when we look around, are we looking at friends? Are we looking at family? Are we looking at people we grew up with? Why do we have to identify everybody as Mexican or Asian or African American? Dude, I have a lot of friends, and am I going to tell you if they're African American or not? We got to get over that. And I know you spend a lot of time on racism, a lot.
Well, the last couple of weeks, certainly, rightfully so, as you would understand.
But you got your brother that comes on, or used to come on a long time ago, that you guys used to talk about the racism. And the thing is it needs to be addressed.
Who are you talking about? I don't know what you mean by brother. What do you mean?
The brother you had on, I think, is a minister.
Stretch Sanders, you're talking about. Yes. When you said brother, sir, I'm sorry, I don't have any brothers. I have a sister.
I don't know. Everybody's my brother, man. I was in Carpenters Union.
I got you.
A brother, so.
Well, there were some. Listen, I don't agree with a lot about what Stretch Sanders said on this show, and that's and part of the reason why he's not on the show anymore. Quite frankly, I think he said some absolutely ludicrous things. He made some statements like all police officers are racist, and he said that
he's saying that.
Well, he said some ridiculous things, and sir, as you know, he has not been on the show in a while. I'm not going to tolerate racist people. I'm just not. No,
well, hey,
sir.
I just let you know I appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
and keep it good.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. So I know we have a lot of people on hold. I'm going to try to get to you on the other side of the break, if I may. We're going to get to Tucker Carlson as well. Tucker lost some of his sponsors. He said the idea of white supremacy is a lie. Well, now I'm saying the idea of losing sponsors is not a hoax because Tucker himself is losing sponsors. So we're going to get to that coming up next. Sit tight for those of you that want to get on the show. We'll try to get to you on the other side of the break. We're talking, of course, about the Confederate flag and NASCAR's decision to ban the Confederate flag. Why did it take this long for them to do it? And the racists are speaking out. That's right. One race car driver, Ray Cicerelli, is now saying he's quitting on driving on the tour, and he is quitting because of their new take on it. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're taking your calls on that at 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, we will get to as many calls as we can on the other side of the break. Leo Terrell, by the way, coming up in hour number 2, 257-5396. Take a break. Be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It's the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. It's amazing that for decades now, NASCAR has allowed the Confederate flag at their races. And by the way, I haven't brought up Donald Trump. I haven't brought up anything politically here. All I'm simply saying is that there are a portion of people in NASCAR that are blatant racists that think it's okay to support the Confederate flag and show it. What's next? Are we going to have the Klan show up at the NASCAR? What, are we going to have Nazi signs? No, I'm glad that NASCAR did this, but why the hell did it take this long to do it? And why are there so many racist fans out there on social media? I'm not going to watch NASCAR anymore because I hate black people, and I want to support that, so I want the Confederate flag out there. It's just so ridiculous. And now we have a NASCAR driver that says he's going to quit. His name is Ray Cicerelli because he doesn't support what NASCAR is doing. Why doesn't he just come out and say, I hate N people, and that's why I'm getting out of NASCAR? He might as well just say that.
I think it's also kind of a publicity stunt for him, too. He wants to make a name for himself by speaking out against this.
He's not a name, and he hasn't won.
I think he believes that there is a lot more support for this not being taken down than there is for it, and I believe that is wrong.
Well, everything he's doing is wrong. He's a racist. Sir Grand Wizard, Ray Cicerelli. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Martin. Martin's been waiting patiently on hold. What's going on, man?
How you doing, man?
Good.
Hey, what's up, Martin?
Not much. I just wanted to. I appreciate it. I was, channel surfing on the FM, and I appreciate you guys bringing up this topic because I do believe that any representation of the Confederate flag, being forced onto the people, is just keeping that delusion of their perception alive.
I couldn't agree with you more. Can I just make an analogy, sir? And are you African American? You mind if I ask you that?
Yes, I am.
So this is
I'm
like
a veteran too. I served my country.
Thank you for your service, sir. We appreciate you. This is like if the NBA had fans out there that were saying, I hate crackers. And then the NBA allowed it for decades. And then the NBA finally said, oh, we don't want those I hate cracker flags out there. And then if you had a couple players that said, oh, I'm quitting the NBA. That's how bad this is, right?
Yeah. And it's very similar in a stance of in a Kaepernick type of thing. I'm not going to support this. But in this way, they were supporting it, and now they're mad because it's not being supported anymore.
Yeah,
but
it's unbelievable.
The reason
it's unbelievable.
why that flag was taken down in the first place is because people had to fight to bear the flag that we bear now as the American flag. You know, so anything that comes before that, anything that supersedes that American flag that we now fly, it shouldn't be there. You know,
let me ask you this.
Broods like that old mentality, that old perception.
Yeah, I want to ask you this, sir, if I may. Now, I can't stand NASCAR. I hate it. I don't understand the sport. Too many ignorant people too are involved with the sport, in my personal opinion. But let me ask you this: why is it that you think that there are so few African Americans in the sport of NASCAR? What answer would you give to that?
It's very blatantly. It's very blatantly apparent. They have Confederate flags up there for a reason. It's like letting people know you can't come here and play golf, Tiger. You can't come here and sing country music. You know, you can't come here and do that because this is our shit. You know, so I don't know if I can cuss. My bad.
That's okay. That's all right.
It's a warning. Like,
sure.
Don't tread on me. You know,
no, you're right. I think you're very right, sir, and I'm so glad you called in. You know, I hear your daughter, I think, in the background.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want your daughter to be raised in a society where people think it's okay to show a Confederate flag. So I'm with you, sir, 150%.
And I didn't think it was okay when I was growing up. You know?
Exactly.
It's like, you see him and you're just like, oh my God.
Exactly.
How can that ignorance still be?
It is.
Survive and strive.
You're right,
sir. I don't understand it.
Neither do I, sir, and that's why we're talking about it and we're calling out those idiots that think it's okay. Thank you so much for the phone call. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Martin.
702-257-5396. By the way, Martin's absolutely right. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, this is my first time. I just caught you guys on the radio.
Well, good. We're glad you accidentally caught us, sir. Hopefully you'll catch us some more now.
Oh, I definitely will. I mean, I agree with you guys on the Confederate flag, but on the other hand, I am from Hawaii, and I am Hawaiian, and they were overthrown and taken away, and we can't fly our royal flag. So take the Confederate flag away, you're right.
I think those are two different situations, sir. You know that. You sound like a smart guy. The Confederate flag represents one thing. Let's be honest. It represents racism and slavery. That's what it represents.
Yeah, and your Hawaiian flag represents the nativity of your country.
Exactly. Those are two completely different things.
Well, one is inherently good, and one is obviously so bad that it is not socially accepted anymore.
Listen, there are certain flags that you should never be allowed to carry anywhere. Certainly a sporting event, anything involving the KKK, anything involving Nazism and that sort of stuff, anything involving a Confederate flag, anything that supports violence. I mean, you could have somebody show up with a sign that says "Kill all pigs." You'd have to take that down, too.
Again, I think it's going to be very hard to police this as far as you're going to have a lot of people who have those flags. You'll have trucks with flags on the license plates, and you'll have stickers and things like that. But as far as actually flying the flag during the national anthem or during any race, that's a big deal. That shows how far NASCAR is willing to go. And it means a lot because, again, the current American flag does not, the Confederate flag does not represent the country as it is today. And whatever flag that is that's flying at any of these events should absolutely represent the country exactly as it is today.
But here's where I disagree with you. I don't think NASCAR is going far. I think it's something that NASCAR should have done decades ago. I don't think it's going far to say we will not tolerate racism at our events. I don't think that's going far. It's something they should have done a very, very long time ago. And if NASCAR didn't want the stereotypes, and those stereotypes, some people would say, are there a lot of racists around the sport of NASCAR, then they should have done this decades ago. My question to the commissioner of NASCAR and to all those around him are, why did you wait till 2020 until George Floyd and there were protests around the country? Why did you wait this long to do that? And why did you allow Confederate flags at your races for decades? Let's get back to the phone line.
Because it catered to the demographic, Brian.
702. Well, that doesn't make it right.
I'm sorry, that's why.
That doesn't make it right. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Troy. Troy, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Troy?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
This is my first time ever calling into a radio station. I've listened to your guys' show, quite a few times. Brian, my question's to you. When, in your eyes, did you see the Confederate flag being a problem?
The first time I saw it when I learned in the history books what the Confederate flag stood for. So I guess you could say when I was about 14 years old.
Okay, I'm 43. I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard, stuff like that. I knew nothing about the Confederate flag, and I don't think a lot of people out there, honestly, a lot of the trucks that you guys are talking about flying the Confederate flag, sure, a lot of them are young guys. Think it's cool to fly a flag in the back of their truck. They're teenagers in their younger 20s, most of the ones that I've seen.
So you don't think they know what it represents?
I honestly don't even think that they actually understand what the Confederate flag was.
All right, so let me respond to that. That's an interesting point. Let me respond to that. First of all, what is racism? I think we all could agree if you're racist, you're ignorant. So racism is ignorance. Now, I personally believe if you have a 16 or a 17-year-old kid with a Confederate flag, it wouldn't shock me if they got that from their parents' basement. It wouldn't shock me if they got that from somebody in their family. Somebody had to buy that flag. Where did they get it from? And I'm going to have to listen. Are there some cases, sir, where maybe there are some people that have a Confederate flag that don't know what it represents? I guess that's possible, but I'm going to have to disagree with you for the most part. I think most people know exactly what that Confederate flag stands for, and that is slavery. It is oppression. It is racism. Yes, there could be a few ignorant teenagers out there that do not know what the flag represents. But you know what? That's on their parents. That's on their family. Because if you have a 16 or a 17-year-old kid and you're allowing them to do that, then you're a parent who is a racist, him or herself. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does. I see your point in that. But like I said, I mean, even when I was a kid, I mean, we played with the Dukes of Hazzard little toy cars. I had no idea. And honestly, in my eyes,
but there's nothing wrong with playing. There's nothing wrong with doing that, sir. You weren't doing anything wrong. There's a fine line between playing with Dukes of Hazzard cards as a kid and some idiot that goes to a NASCAR race with his family with a Confederate flag. There's a huge distinction there. I don't think you did anything wrong.
No, but I see what you're saying. But what my point is that me personally, the question that I asked you, when did you see the Confederate flag? So you learned about it or whatever in school. My point is that, they didn't teach me. I didn't learn about the Confederate flag in school. I went all the way through high school.
He's saying that a lot of people that are.
Go ahead.
No, please continue.
Oh, my government teachers and history teachers, we didn't talk about the Confederate flag. That wasn't.
All right, so fair enough. Let me take it. I hear you, sir. Let me take it a step further and just quickly say this, and I know JD wants to respond to this call as well. Then that is on your family. And I don't want to bash your family or your parents, but I can only speak for my family. And when I was younger, my family taught me at a very young age, do not judge somebody based on race. Do not judge somebody based on gender. And they gave me a history lesson themselves, and they said this is what minorities had to go through. There was something called slavery. African Americans. My dad had a conversation with me about that. Same type of conversation like when you had with your family about the birds and the bees. My family had that conversation with me about minorities. I learned what the Confederate flag was at a young age. You know what? I'm glad my parents did that for me because at the age of 14, I was able to call out who and racists are, and I did not associate with people like that. That's why it's so important for the families and the parents to teach people what the Confederate flag stands for.
But I think what he's saying is that the people when you were 14, you may have had friends that pushed the Confederate flag in some capacity, but they may not have known what it meant. And so he's saying that there's some young people that could get flack for this, but not know that they're actually or without intention that they're offending people, and they could receive a lot of flack. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Then if they're ignorant and they don't know what the flag represents, or maybe their parents have given them a Confederate flag, then they deserve to be called out for it so they never do it again. It's as simple as that.
Well, for sure. I mean, I learned about slavery. We had Black History Week, month, whatever it was. You learned about Martin Luther King, all that stuff. What I'm saying is it never got tied in my life to the Confederate flag.
I understand what you're saying.
The tie to the Confederate flag, as I see it, where the Confederate flag picked up momentum and people started, tearing down the statues, saying that the Confederate flag was wrong, was when that kid went into that church and he had the Confederate flag on his shirt or whatever and shot up all those people in that black church.
All right, well, listen,
that's when the Confederate flag started saying no.
Sir, I get what you're saying. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate your phone call. But listen, the bottom line is this. Family needs to be involved here. Your parents obviously didn't teach you what slavery was and what minorities had to go through years ago. That's the bottom line.
And I would argue that, you said that racism is ignorance. I would say it's much further than that. for example, let's say that there's a presidential candidate that you agree with 100% on policy and issue. Let's say that Candace Owens runs in 2024. And you agree with her 100% across the board. She's probably the best fit for the country, but you choose not to vote for her only because of the color of her skin.
Well, that's a racist.
That is a racist decision. It's making illogical decisions. It's taking logic out of the equation, and it's dropping your own moral compass for the sole purpose of what someone looks like.
It's hate. It's hate and it's stupidity. That's exactly what it is. It's ignorance. That's why I call it ignorance. Let's go to Ed. Ed, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Ed?
Hey, it's been a good run, but we can still cheer for our UNLV Silver Miners. How's that? Does that sound better?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Oh, you're talking about the rebels? Is that
yeah,
what
the
you're saying?
rebels, because they're based off the Confederate, right?
Well, I've never really had that discussion of how UNLV is based off the Confederate flag. I'm not aware of that.
They're not, but I mean, they're pulling down statues of Confederate men. So the statue they had, I don't see no flag on it. It's just the man itself and the army that he was in the rebels. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying it's
okay. Well, let me just correct you. Let me just correct you really quickly. Actually, you're wrong, sir. It was the South Rebellion against the North, a.k.a. Reno. So I just want to be clear on that. It has nothing to do with UNLV. And as far as statues that are being taken down, if it's a statue of anybody that supported slavery, I am completely in support of them taking down that statue.
That's fine.
Yeah,
and I think. Do you think they should rename all the military bases?
That's a different issue.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
They're both instances of rewriting history instead of learning from it, Brian.
Here's what I'll say to this.
And again, that's why I mentioned the slippery slope earlier. If we just eliminated anyone in the country who at some point, or with items that we use today or things that we interact with today, that who owned slaves, George Washington would not be on the $1 bill anymore.
So let me address this quickly here. What you're talking about right now.
The flag. I understand, and I'm totally with the flag, Brian.
Okay, so
but once you start eliminating anyone in history who was associated with the ownership of slaves,
let me be clear
it literally changes the entire complexion of how history or of how we got to where we are. And instead of recognizing it and saying, "Wow, look how far we've come." We're trying to erase what actually took place.
Let me be very clear
and why it took place.
I get your point.
And how different the world really is now. And really, it's a testament to African Americans and how much the perception of African Americans in the United States has drastically changed.
Okay, so I'm not going to make the statement. You said a lot of things there. I'm not going to make the statement it's a testament to African Americans when I have African Americans tell me it's the opposite of what you think. That's number one. Number two, it does not erase history because we take down a statue of somebody that maybe was a racist and owned slaves. What it does do, it doesn't erase the history books. It doesn't. You can go to the library and read up about history. It doesn't change what they're taught in school. It doesn't stop. It doesn't erase history. And number three, for white people, and I'm speaking to white people right now, if you woke up this morning and the only thing that is on your mind is your anger, not anger because of oppressed people and minorities and the way they're treated in this country, but you're angry because some statues were taken down, then you are a moron. Okay? You're an idiot. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Bill. Bill, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Bill?
Hello, how you doing there?
Good.
Doing great.
All right, well, I got to admit that, seeing the Confederate flag, it's not that I disagree with it because, you only have one thing that's out there that you can recognize who the person is. Okay.
Did we lose Bill? I have no idea what's going on with the phone lines. Bill, are you still there?
Yeah, Bill, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Sorry about that, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, when you put a Confederate flag out there for everybody to see, it's blatant who you are. You already said, hey,
Agree.
Look, this person out there, hey, this is how they feel about everybody else.
Okay, so, Bill, hear me out. I understand, Bill. Hear me out. I don't disagree with what you just said, but just hear me out for a second. Let's just say you're a young child, okay? You're very young, and you go to a NASCAR race, and you see a bunch of Confederate flags. Is that right for that child? Let's just say that child doesn't have the best parenting. Do you really want our young people in society to see a Confederate flag? I mean, that's not the America that I want for our kids.
Well, and I can understand you 100%, but just like you said, that young child already have issues. You know what I'm saying? It don't start with the Confederate flag.
But don't you think it's better, sir, just to abolish the flag altogether? And if people want to be closet,
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is NASCAR is no national, okay? And if they're hanging that up, they should have already been in a race about getting rid of it, like you said.
I agree. No, I agree. And you're right. I agree. You're right. Sir, listen, I think we're in agreement here. I'm just saying we need to call these people out for who they are. I get what you're saying. If somebody shows the flag.
Call them out? How are you going to call them out if you take it away and then you don't even know what they represent? Now you're bringing kids and individuals to the atmosphere that everybody in the past knew what they're about.
I get what you're saying. It's an interesting point.
He's saying that the Confederate flag exposes racists.
I know what he's saying. But
and now racists can hide behind, or they cannot expose themselves because of the fact that
I know
they aren't able to.
Yeah, I get what he's saying, but
actually do so legally.
Those individuals died for a reason.
I get it, but
I'm not saying that I was the reason why they died, but look,
sir, let me say it this way.
Going against America.
I get it, but sir, let me put it to you this way: if they're blatant racist and they show it publicly and they're not allowed to use a Confederate flag, trust me when I say this, they're going to use something else. They're going to use something else to show their hate. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mario. Mario, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Mario?
First off, I just, now that we're on this topic of race, I just wish they would, quit calling immigrants aliens. That to me is very disrespectful, and it sounds racist in a point, just like.
Yeah, they call them illegal aliens, like they're going to probe somebody. Yeah.
Like, it's like when I talk to people, it's everyone in America actually knows an alien.
Mario, I'm going to take it a step further. Mario, I agree with you, and I'm going to take it a step further. Donald Trump, he said this 4 years ago, talking about Mexicans. These people, they cross our border. They're rapists. They're bad people. And I suppose some of them are good people. That's your president. What do you think about that?
No, and that's one of those things. And that's, to me, and JD, I know you support Trump, but do you believe he's not a racist? Do you blatantly believe Trump isn't a racist?
Yeah, I do. I don't think Trump is a racist. Now, I don't use the term alien. I use the term undocumented immigrant or illegal immigrant. But I don't believe that Donald Trump is a racist. And actually, by closing down the borders, he's making the standard of living significantly better for those who are undocumented immigrants. Because remember, if you are an undocumented immigrant or an illegal immigrant and you're in the United States, let's say that there's 500,000 more in the United States every single year. Well, those people have to get work somehow. And so you are going to have a much higher demand for or to get jobs than you will to actually find people working. So those who are undocumented right now and getting paid under the table will get paid probably half of that money because there's going to be such a demand for work across the country. So it'll actually help the big corporations that Donald Trump is accused of pushing. Does that make sense, Brian?
It makes sense, but here's a stat to me that doesn't make sense if you don't think he's a racist. He's tweeted about Colin Kaepernick and the kneeling situation over 100 times, but when it comes to actual race relations and actual police brutality and the difficulties that minorities face on a regular basis, he doesn't talk about those systemic racist issues in this country, but yet he shows all his anger towards African-American football players that are taking a knee. In fact, he called them sons of bitches.
He called anyone who is disrespecting the flag a son of a bitch.
He called specifically.
They just happen to
not
be
correct.
They just happen to be African Americans.
Not correct. You're once again factually inaccurate.
I am not incorrect.
All right, so
he did not see
I will make a $5,000 bet with you right now.
He did not single out African Americans who are kneeling.
All right, so here's what he did. I will give you the facts.
Any NFL player.
JD, you said something that is not true.
No, that's not true. I'll make
a $1,000 bet with you right now.
Any NFL player who was kneeling is who he called out.
Exactly. Right. And who were those? The majority of them are African Americans, are they not?
So he didn't. So you're wrong. I said all.
So he's not referencing minorities.
Any NFL player who was kneeling because they're disrespecting the flag, that is who he called out, Brian.
So he was specifically
like I said. He did not specifically say African Americans.
Okay, so you want to get into the weeds?
No,
if I can respond,
you're trying to spin it.
If I can respond,
it's not spinnable.
If I can respond now, 70% of people in the NFL are black. He was specifically talking about NFL players. 7 out of 10 are black. He knew exactly who he was talking about. And to suggest he was talking about white people is ridiculous.
No, it's not, Brian. He said anyone in the NFL.
And
anyone
the NFL
in the NFL
is 70% black.
That is
what part of that do you not understand?
For the flag or to the flag, and disrespecting the flag and disrespecting the military is a son of a bitch.
That's very appropriate.
He did not specify African Americans, so don't spin
you don't have
Brian,
to specify
because you are incorrect.
Excuse me, you don't have to specify it. I just gave you the stat, and I'll give it to you one more time, and maybe you could just digest it for a second.
Oh, I've digested it.
7 out of 10.
Brian, I know
if I could
4
just
times more about the NFL than you will ever know.
Okay.
First of all, I wish we could talk about sports, but we can't talk about sports because there is no sports.
What does that have to do with
What I'm saying is, Brian, you're trying to move this statement into Donald Trump being a racist. That's not the case. He just said anyone who disrespects the flag because disrespects the military is a son of a bitch. That's what he said. He did not specify any specific race. And Donald Trump, his first rally is going to be June 19th, which is the Juneteenth anniversary in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the Tulsa Massacre took place roughly 100 years ago.
I find it very interesting, and if I can talk now for 30 seconds without
Absolutely.
That's very nice of you. Thank you. I find it very interesting that we're talking about race and serious subjects, and you want to bring in the fact that you know 4 times more than me about the NFL. I think that is idiotic and immature on your part to make a statement like that. That's number one. Number two, the NFL, I'll say it again because you just don't understand, the NFL is 70% black. So when the president... And by the way, 12% in this country are actually African Americans. So when the president,
13.6%.
If I could just finish again, when the president makes a statement like that, he didn't call Chauvin, the police officer, a son of a bitch. He hasn't called people who have done some horrible things to minorities and are racist or that hold Confederate flags son of a bitches. In fact, in Charlottesville, he said there were good people on both sides, many of them being Nazis and Klan members. So he said those were good people. But when it comes to NFL players, yes, the majority of them are minorities. He calls them sons of bitches for kneeling. You cannot debate that. I am debating facts. That's number one. And when it comes to the president, he has a history of saying racist things. And I'm talking way before he was the president of the United States. That is just a fact.
He also has pictures with Al Sharpton.
So what?
He created a lot of funds for African Americans.
He has a picture with Al Sharpton, so he's not
hired
a
lot of African Americans. Whenever he owned businesses, African-American unemployment was the lowest in American history.
That doesn't mean he's not a racist.
Before all this took place, Brian.
Well, you're right. He has a picture with Al Sharpton, so he can't be a racist. You're absolutely right, JD. That makes completely 100% sense. You're right. No, I agree with you.
He received awards based on the fact that he was involved in a lot of African-American oriented events. I mean, no, he became a racist in the mind of the United States and the mind of people like yourself when he became, or when he decided to become the president of the United States.
We got to take.
It is right now. It is convenient to call Donald Trump a racist.